Silver surge and gold gains forecasting the next bull run. In this week's Gold and Silver Stacking Saturdays, we'll cut straight into what the outlook for silver's breakout moves and gold's momentum and share where savvy stackers are positioning heading into next week's market shifts. Hello, everyone. My name is Rick Fronek. I'm the CEO in Silver and Gold Solutions. And in today's Stacking Saturdays, we're going to teach you how to stack smart and save strong. And we're going to dive into what everyone needs to know and what pointers you should keep in mind when saving for yourself and your family and your future in the form of precious metals, i.e., specifically gold and silver is what our topics are. And in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you some insight that's really going to make people understand what's happened over the course of this past week, what's been driving the dip and then the rise as far as the silver and gold markets have gone, because everybody noticed a big dip in the overall price of gold, but then it surged back up. And then also silver, what's happening with silver and why right now is still the best time to take action on silver. We're also going to touch upon why, what's driving the forces behind this. And I'm actually going to share you some insight from a couple of people that I followed for a long time now. And I want to share their perspective on things so you get some additional insight, but then also how the tariffs are impacting things. And then we're also going to touch on copper as well, because it does tie into gold and silver, and how the markets fluctuate. And then also, as usual, every week we do have a special giveaway for one attendee that's live on the presentation at the time I do the drawing. Okay, so this is something that I encourage everyone to make sure you're subscribed to the Silver and Gold Stacking Saturdays presentation. So that way each week you're able to jump on the live call and be able to participate and win one of these exciting prizes that we give away. Because as of this is our sixth installment of Silver and Gold Solutions Gold and Silver Stacking Saturdays, and we've given away well over $700 worth of prizes already to participants who have actually been on the live calls. Okay, and the most key important thing what I'm going to share with everybody today is what you can do yourself to prepare for what's coming up, because this is, I know with the summer months and everything, it's something that people kind of get into the doldrums of summer where they're focused on everything outside, and they may not necessarily be paying attention to what's happening with the gold and silver markets and precious metals and what it can do for yourself and your family. But this is why I do host these weekly calls. It's just to keep everybody up to date on what's been happening or transpiring over the course of the past week. So this is every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And so what I've done, going back to when our first presentation was on June 21st, and I always encourage people to go back to that presentation because I do have a wealth strategies presentation tied into that, and that it's an 8 to 9 minute segment of that presentation that'll give you a nice overview of one of the companies that I highly recommend everybody take a look at when they're saving in the form of precious metals. But here we are sitting today at August 2nd. 2025 gold's at 33.6450 an ounce. Silver's at 37.10 an ounce. Okay, so if you go back to June 21st, we had 33.6940 for gold, and silver was at 36.02. So when you go from in that time span, gold is obviously staying steady. And if you check out the other dates here, going from July 5th, and then we had last week, July 38.19. So silver is fluctuating, but it's still staying in that range, and it still has a positive gain over the past 6 weeks. Okay, so this is something that I like to point out just so everybody has an idea of what we're looking at with both precious metals. Like I said, and I'm going to share with you at the very end of this video the best way to take action for yourself and your family when it comes to precious metals and silver and gold. So stay tuned for that. So I talk about this every week. So the gold silver ratio is, how much silver does it take to purchase gold? Okay, 1 ounce of gold. Okay, this is something that over the course of time, the gold silver ratio has been consistent between 40 to 1 and 60 to 1, meaning that it would take 40 ounces or 60 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold. That's been over the course of the last 50 years. That's been kind of the range that there's always that gold silver ratio where it's always stayed in that medium. And right now with gold at 33.64 and silver at 37.10, it would take 90.68 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold. Okay, so keep in mind, so right now you have this big differential, and eventually when it gets back into that 40 to 60 to or 40 or 60 to 1 range, I don't think it would ever go back to 40 to 1, although it's possible. But if it goes back to 60 to 1, that's where you're going to see that huge gain in the price of silver. And what I'm going to share with you at the end of the video on as far as strategically placing yourselves to have a more secure financial future for yourself and your family is a way to utilize those gains in the silver market to then go ahead and convert it back into gold. Okay, so this is something that's really kind of exciting. I'd like to share this information with everybody. So what I'm going to do is I do have a couple, like I said, why now is the time and you're not too late if you want to get into purchasing or saving in the form of precious metals. Now, this is something like the people that are the the Warren Buffetts of the world and the people that have a ton of money, they're already doing a lot of what I'm sharing here today. Okay, this is something that, the people that have the inside scoop on thing, and a lot of people say, well, that's because that's for millionaires, that gold and silver isn't for the average everyday person. But that's untrue. That's a misconception that every person, regardless of your income or where you're at in the world, you have the opportunity to take advantage of what is happening right now in the gold and silver markets. And that's why I want to encourage everybody to, um, you know, pay close attention to some of the clips that I share with everybody here. And I also have two articles that I'm going to go over with too that give kind of a nice breakdown as to what's happening in the gold and silver markets. So it's something that you can utilize this information. And even if you're able to save a little bit each week or each month, you're still they call it silver and gold stacking. You're still stacking your gold and silver, whether it's a small incremental amount or if it's something where you're able to do more. Okay. Well, what I would like to share is just the information that people that even regardless of your income, you should be able to save in the form of precious metals. And it's something that you don't want to overlook. It's something that you should consider. Uh, so, and I do want to point this out again. So, for a long time now, silver has always been bumping up and down. It hasn't reached the highs of like, back it did back in the 80s or 2001, I'm sorry, 2011. Um, but this is something where, you know, on July 22nd, silver closed at a 14-year high at 39.33 an ounce. Okay, it's since July 22nd has now dipped down because we're at the 37.10 mark. But what I'm going to share with you in one of the clips here is, where it's still in that range, that steady range where it's kind of like tapering, getting ready, and like one person refers to it as a launch pad where it's getting ready to explode. And that's where from my heart of hearts, I deeply feel that as well, that we're really at a point right now where people that do take advantages can really make some substantial gains if they take action. Okay. And what I'm going to share with you here at the end also is the significance and why it's important to have something like a sound money wallet. And I will explain that as well too at the end here. So what I want to do is first and foremost, I'm going to say I am not a financial expert. I'm just sharing with you all the information and things that I've been doing for myself and my family for going now for the past 5+ years. Now, this is something that I have been on a regular basis, saving in the form of silver and gold. And it's something that, over the course of these past 5+ years, I've seen a huge difference. Okay. And if you go back to some of my videos going back 2 and 3 years ago, a lot of the stuff that I was talking about in those videos and predicting and encouraging people to take a look into precious metals, those actually have come true. Okay. And so it's something where it's maybe gold and silver isn't as glamorous as cryptocurrencies or, maybe the stock market. But truth be told, gold and silver or gold specifically has outperformed the S&P 500 since the turn of the century, okay, consistently year after year. And, as far as the gains and everything, if you go back to last week's video, I talk about the percentage gains that gold and silver have had over the S&P 500. And the only, I guess, option that you would have is maybe cryptocurrency is the only thing that has had massive gains, since the turn of the century, but they weren't around in 2000. Okay. So it's like, yeah, you can't compare apples to apples when something hasn't been around that long. But that's the thing too, is, cryptocurrency is just as volatile as any other type of, commodity, whether it's, if you're doing stocks or you're doing gold and silver. But the one thing that is true is that gold and silver and precious metals have stood the test of time. It is the only one true form of currency. In 1,000 years from now, it'll still be here. Whereas, cryptocurrencies, who knows, stocks, who knows what's going to happen with that. But there will always be stocks. And there will always be some form of cryptocurrency moving forward. But as far as something that's going to be the one thing that every country bases their money on is gold and silver. Okay. That's one thing that if you go into any country in the world, they'll gladly accept gold and silver. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to share this article here, and I'm going to pause this for a second here, and let me pull this up. Let's see. Whoops. Got to get out of here. Like I said, this is live, so this is something that any mistakes or anything that you see here, you're going to see because this is all live. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. All right. So in this article here, this is from called Strong Physical Investment Demand in Asia Drives Overall Gold Demand Higher. This is from Mike Mahari from moneymetals.com. And I will also have this article, the link for this article below the video. So if you want to check out the article and read it in its full context, you can. But what he's talking about here is the strongest physical investment gold demand since 2013 helped push overall demand up a healthy 3% through the first half of 2025. But American investors, by and large, sat on the sidelines. Including over-the-counter investment, gold demand totaled 1,249 tons in H1, according to data compiled by the World Gold Council. With a strong 26% gain in H1, the value of total gold demand surged by 45% year on year, reaching 132 billion. Now, this is something that I've talked about before as the central banks purchasing gold. So the central banks across the world have been stockpiling gold. So there is this huge shift that is happening that the mainstream media is not talking about. Okay, this is something that they're not going to talk about on your local news saying, oh, by the way, all these central banks are purchasing gold because there's going to be some type of monetary shift and you need to prepare yourself now by saving in the form of gold and silver. No, they're not going to say that, and they're not saying that. Okay. So I always like to share this information about the central banks. Central bank gold buying continued to provide steady support for the gold market. Banks globally bought a net 166 tons of gold in the second quarter, bringing the 2025 increase in gold reserves to 378 tons. So they're stockpiling it and reserving it for a reason. Uh, the central bank purchases have slowed somewhat. The second quarter charted the lowest level of central bank gold buying since the second quarter of 2022. However, it is still 41% above the quarterly level typical between 2010 and 2021. So there's always a gauge. They always try to reference it against a time period. Okay. Um, now, so as such, gold's rally so far this year, up 26% to new record levels, has likely contributed to the slowdown in central bank buying, meaning that even though the price of gold has gone up, so it slowed the buying down because of the price of it. But at the same time, they continue to add gold in the face of a higher price. Underscores their continuing favorable attitudes toward gold as a strategic asset amid such uncertainty. Okay. All right, so what I want to share here is he's talking about ETFs and everything here, and also he talks about jewelry demand at pandemic era lows because the cost of gold is high for a lot of these the manufacturers that make jewelry out of physical gold. So there's some changes of that as well. Okay, so what I'll do is I wanted to share that about the outlook for gold and what is it's currently at versus previous years. So there's still a high demand for the gold commodity. So in this article here, this one is got a little bit more key points that I want to share with everybody. This is also from Jesse Colombo. He's from Money Metals as well. I do get a newsletter from them, so this is why I like to share some of their information. So in this article here, and I will also post this below the video as well if you want to check out the full thing. Gold and silver remain in consolidation, but their technical setups are still strong despite the confusing cross currents caused by unpredictable tariff developments. Okay, so I mentioned at the beginning that we're going to be talking about tariffs a little bit. So this is where this kind of plays in because I was not aware of the specifics of this one tariff that was imposed. Okay, so now I'll touch on that here in a little bit here. It's been a volatile and tumultuous week marked by the Fed meeting, a slew of key economic data, including the U.S. GDP report and a flood of corporate earning reports. On top of that, tariff-related developments and speculation have added to market uncertainty. Low volume summer trading conditions have further amplified the volatility. Um, so that's, between the tariff and then also as far as everything that's going on with anytime the Fed talks about something, the market kind of fluctuates depending on what they say, depending on what they think they're going to say, and all this. So there's a lot of things that play into the fluctuation of gold and silver. But in this case here, another key factor is we're right smack dab in the middle of summer here. Okay, and so it's something that as far as the volume of purchasing, and there's a lot of people that take vacations around this time of year. So a lot of people and companies and that do not take the time to invest in gold and silver, and so that actually has a pullback on the market as well. Amid this backdrop, gold has held up well while silver has experienced a modest pullback. However, both remain in strong technical positions, and my outlook on them is unchanged. In this update, I'll share what I'm currently seeing in gold and silver, along with updates on copper and the US dollar. Okay, so like he's talking about gold with it being, like in 100 price increments. Okay, so when you look at the gold chart, it's kind of staying steady between this 3,200 and 3,500 high that it's had, since the beginning of the year. And you'll see that here in the chart here. Um, as I've highlighted in recent updates, gold has been in a consolidation phase or trading range since April. This is a healthy development, allowing the metal to digest earlier gains and work off its overbought conditions. Such sideways movement is especially common during the dog days of summer when news flow generally slows. With this past week being an exception because of the tariffs and everything that's happening, and trading volumes tend to drop as much of the financial world heads into vacation mode. Um, at this moment, I'm watching and waiting for gold to make its next move with a bias toward an upside breakout above the $3,500 resistance level, at which point I believe the rally will quickly resume. So what he's showing here is this is gold futures on the COMEX. So the trading range right now is between 3,200 and 3,500. It's staying steady right in there. So if you go down here from April through here we are in August, the beginning of August, you see it's staying steady. Okay, so where it's not really, it dips slightly below that 3,200, which that would have been like an optimal time to jump back into the gold market. But I'll share with you a little bit here how you can do that as far as on a daily basis or weekly basis if you'd like coming up. So there's the trading range right there. And then when you go over here, he's comparing it to gold price in other countries as well. Okay, so it doesn't have the influence of the US dollar fluctuation. This is basically showing the pattern in euros. So it's still staying in that euro range from 2,700 to 3,000 or 2,700 to 3,000 euros compared to here we have 3,200, $3,500, but it's still staying in that same range. Okay, so it's staying consistent whether it's in euros or in dollars. So this shows you again compared to last year. So last year during the summer, it stayed within this you have the 3, 4, 5 months here where it's staying in this range, then it has that breakout. Okay. And then there's a winter triangle, which is, I'll get into an explanation in another video, but you have the summer trading range here and the summer trading range here in 2025. So if you go over the course of history and what's been happening here with gold, you'll see that this is kind of like some people have said it's between the gold and the silver. These ranges, when they kind of stay steady, bouncing up and down between a slight range, that's getting ready for, in this case here, you see what happens. It explodes up, then it kind of tapered off during the winter, and then here it is exploding up again. So that's where people are, looking at it to be another launching pad for gold. So when it turning to silver, pardon me, turning to silver, this guy tracks it closely due to its tendency to respect key $1 increments. from forming clear support and resistance levels such as 32, 33, and 34. In early June, silver finally broke out above its long-standing 32 to $35 resistance zone, seeing that it held firm for over a year from May of 2024 to June of this year. In my view, this breakout marked the official beginning of silver's next major bull market. As with all financial markets, nothing moves in a straight line. After briefly touching 40, silver has pulled back, causing concern among less experienced or less confident investors. But he's saying, but not me. I'm not shaking at all. Now, I did notice this when some of the videos and the people that I've been following over the course of the week. As soon as silver took that dip, everybody started crying wolf, like, oh, this is, it's crashing now. And people, that's the thing is, you have to look at silver and gold as it's not, there are short-term gains. You can do it, play it that way. But for the most part, gold and silver is a long-term game. So it's something that, you do want to stack it over the course of time to an event, like I said, like I'm sharing with you here and what I've shared in other videos is that it will enable you to provide a bit more secure future for your family, in the long run. Okay. So I'm going to share with you how to do that at the end as well. I'm not shaking out. This looks like a routine pullback or retest of the $32, $35 zone, which now serves as a major support level. Um, and here again, it's not surprising because of the low volume summer months. So here is that 32 to 35 zone. Okay, and then here's where it broke out of that $35 right here, and where it surged up to, just briefly touched 40, and then it's going to bounce down. So it'll probably bounce down. It may go back down to that 35, but if it does, it's going to be extremely brief. So it's going to start bouncing around and then take off again. Okay, so it's something that I wanted to share with everybody. Um, One factor that recently disrupted silver's behavior is the highly unusual price action in U.S. domestic copper futures, an asset that, along with gold, strongly influences silver. It began with a dramatic 13% surge on July 8th, following President Trump's announcement that he would impose a 50% tariff on copper imports. He's got this wrong, former. I'll have to slap him for that. Okay, I'm following President Trump's announcement that he would impose a 50% tariff on copper imports. Because of that correlation with copper and silver and gold, that was what was helped driving the market up. However, the market was blindsided, and this is from a couple days ago, yesterday when prices plunged 22% after Trump confirmed the tariff but excluded copper ores concentrates from it. Okay, so because when he initially said that the copper was going to be part of the tariff, that actually helped drive it drove the price of copper up, but it also drove the price of gold and silver up as well, because it just had that impact on it. So here he's showing the $5 range for copper, but then you see after when the tariffs were announced, it dropped it well below down into the 430 range. Okay, because of people, a lot of suppliers and companies were buying it and driving the price up because they thought there was going to be the tariffs were going to be impacted by it, but it turns out copper isn't one of them. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share a new screen here. So bear with me one second. Okay, I'll get back to my screen here. Like I said, this is all live, so what you see is what you get. Okay. All right, of course, now my screen is, there we go. Okay. So all these articles I will post below the video. Okay. So it's something that you can check out yourself if you'd like. Okay. So that was Jesse Colombo from Money Metals. Okay. So just real quick, I'm going to touch again here on the central bank purchases in gold. Um, like I pointed out before, the key date in these the purchases by central banks is February 24th, 2022. That was the official, I guess the official date of the Ukraine-Russian war. And so what's happened in that time here, when you go from in February there, boom, you start seeing all these central banks buying more than they had even over 15 years ago. Okay. And it's because of the tariffs put on Russia by the United States when President Biden actually put those tariffs on or sanctions on Russia. A lot of countries started and central banks started questioning whether or not if, like, or say countries, they question whether if the United States didn't approve of something that they were doing, would we have sanctions put on them? So that's why all these countries and central banks started stockpiling gold. Okay. So it's something to keep in mind. So what I want to do is I want to share this. This is a clip from Michael Oliver. I shared something from him last week as well. Now this is there's two parts of this video that I'm gonna share. They're not very long, but they're he makes some key points in what he sees that's happening with silver. Okay, so the first one here, let me is like I said, this is live, so there's gonna be commercials. So bear with me 1 second here. Okay, let's see. Silver, I think we're good. Okay. Isn't done. It's starting. And wait till you hear where silver's really headed. It'll shock you. Why? Because the real value of the currency unit over this decades to the present has decayed so much, you'd probably have to be $200 silver just to match the real value of silver in 1980 at 50. Okay. But I think we're going to surge to 60 to 70 between now and the end of the year. To say, a handful of months. Well, and I think gold will go up during that time, but nothing like what silver's going to do. Now, is that the end of it? No, that's not the end of it. That's just an acceleration out of this underpriced metal. $50 silver in 1980. Okay, so that was, this is what if you watch this entire video, and I don't want to play the whole thing, I just wanted to share that point from with you, is that he's talking about averages of what he's seeing over the course of time. And this is, he's actually confirming a lot of things that some of the other people that I listen to are saying. Okay. I've heard as much as, maybe $90 by the end of the year. I don't think silver would spike that much, but the 60 to 70 is pretty consistent with what I've been hearing from other people as well. So I want to share this other clip here, and we're probably going to get another commercial. So bear with me a second. Okay. Bet. And he's backing it with real skin in the game. Okay. So my personal emphasis is in the silver miners. So I've picked 3 or 4 that I think are better. They're the bigger silver miners. I'm not going to specify what they are because it could change over time. But I'm emphasizing ownership more of silver miners than gold miners. Because like silver, I think it's going to beat gold. I think they'll beat the gold miners. But the miners in general look like a far better place to be than gold. In fact, if I were to give you a number right now that might occur over the next, I won't say by the end of this year, but over the next year or two, it would be easy to see the miners triple in relative value to gold from where they are right now. Meaning, as gold goes up, they go up 3 times as much. And this is a technical assessment. It's not a gut feeling. Silver miners tripling while gold climbs? Okay, so that was something I wanted to share because he has a different perspective on things that, I mean, Michael Oliver is, I've followed him for a couple of years now, and he always has good insight, and it's something that, like he's talking about there. So, in addition to what he's saying in the videos, is in addition to physical silver, or because gold's going to go up too. So in addition to physical gold or silver, but silver specifically, it's good to have, purchase the physical silver. But then also he's saying, where people are going to make the biggest gains over the coming, months to years is going to be in the silver miners. Okay. Okay. And he does not, I watched the whole thing. He does not specify which, silver mining companies he recommends. And very, very few people, very few experts, even like Robert Kiyosaki and, Mike Maloney and some of these other people, um, are, they will not ever divulge on a YouTube video exactly what miners or stocks or whatever they're saving in. Okay, it's something, but there is an analysis. Whereas when it comes to as far as gold mining and silver mining, which companies, do your research and take a look into that as a different aspect of saving for yourself and your family in the future. But also keep in mind that the true best way to save is in the form of physical silver and gold. Okay. Now this is what this is like a 2-minute clip I'm going to share from this is a video courtesy of Silver Slayer and Andy Sheckman, and it's something that he's talking about. Well, I'll just let you listen to it. Destroy the dollar. We want to destroy the dollar purposely in an effort to save the system. Let me explain. Trump gets up on stage and you hear it too, and he looks right at you, Jake, and says he's talking to your daughter, to the father in you. And he says, listen, we got to do this so that your daughter and her children have a future. And if we don't,
If we have all of our key manufacturing around the world, we're done.
Yes, the 30% tariff applies to silver imports from Mexico and the EU starting August 1st, 2025. People will be wishing they can build a time machine, go back to July 30th, 2025 and pay $37, $38. They will be wishing that. Like, we're still the people that bought Bitcoin at 20 cents in 2014.
You're talking the majority of human population. If you bring in the Belt Road, which they are now saying BRICS Pay and BRICS Bridge are being integrated into the Belt Road, along with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Eurasian Economic Union. We got the 11 Asian countries, 5 Middle East. You have the majority and the majority of the commodities, and the majority of the rare earths, and the majority of the refining of the rare earths, and the majority of the manufacturing of the wood, and the majority of the on-sea and cross-land trade routes, and 3 of the 4 largest. You see where we're going. This is nothing to say, yeah, bullshit, it's not big enough.
Right.
Okay, I was trying to cut it before he swore, but that's okay. Uh, so real quick, the 30% tariffs. Now, this is something that I did, believe it or not, yes, I did check with ChatGPT, and because I did a search for a specific article that showed it, and I could not find anything on the internet, okay, in the searches that I was doing. But the U.S. had announced 30% reciprocal tariffs on imports from Mexico and the European Union, effective August 1st, as part of a broad escalation in U.S. trade policy under the second Trump administration. These tariffs apply to all goods from those regions, including silver imports. Given Mexico's role as a major silver exporter and the EU's industrial output. Okay, so this is also, I can include these below the video as well. Okay, so these are a couple reports that say that they're the 30% tariff, because the stuff that I could find online goes back to the beginning of July. I could not find anything for August 1st specifically stating, okay, yeah, all these tariffs, these 30% tariffs are effective today. Although with what happened, what I showed you with the copper market and how that impacted silver market earlier this week, it's pretty much that's a foregone conclusion that this is taking into place. So what Andy Schectman was trying to say is, when he's talking about the the BRICS nations, I've talked about this many times before. Okay, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Okay, and they're the core countries that are trying to come up with a currency that's backed by gold. Okay, and so, but now there's all these other. Right now, there's up to, I believe 50 some countries that are trying to get into in alignment with these BRICS countries in this BRICS currency. Okay, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to separate themselves from the Western countries that control the money across the globe. Okay, in this case here, it's the United States and the Western countries. Basically everything's based on the U.S. dollar. So if they come up, if it's official and the BRICS currency takes place, then all these countries, and everyone knows China's impact on everything. It's huge. Russia is part of it. Okay, so you have all these major countries that are forming their own currency. And in this case here, it would basically pretty much put a collapse to the US dollar across the globe as far as it being the dominating currency. And so what he was referring to is what's going to happen is the U.S. is going to have to come up with a gold-backed currency. So when Nixon took the U.S. dollar off the gold standard back in the 70s, that shifted everything into being each country having their own fiat currency, and then it's just deemed whatever the country says it's worth. In this case here, with whichever country decides that they're going to come up with a gold-backed currency first, and it would be who of the United States, because everything is based on the U.S. dollar. If we would be the first country to say, okay, President Trump says from now on, starting September 1st, 2025, and I'm not saying, I'm just using it as an example, U.S. dollars will be backed by gold. Okay, that's why there was the information about auditing Fort Knox earlier this year, and because it's basically been said whichever country holds the most gold makes the rules, and pretty much it's always been under a foregone conclusion that it's been the United States. So if the United States would come out and say that the U.S. dollar is going to be backed by gold, then that's going to make a huge impact. Then that would swing the power back to the United States. Whereas right now, all these Eastern countries are trying to come up with their own currency to combat the U.S. dollar. Okay, so this is something to kind of keep in mind. This is why it's important to know what's happening on with gold and silver. So So what I'm gonna do is, well, I see here I have Janet on here. We have Steve, Gary, and this is today we're giving away another 1 gram gold coin. Okay, so I appreciate everybody who stayed on here so far. And then also we have Kimberly again. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to go ahead and do this drawing here real quick. So this is something, like I said, when as I get more people, I will do it in a different type of format. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and put these people's names in the cup here. And so this, as I'm doing this drawing here, what I'm going to share with you is how you can today, starting today, and the winner is real quick. Congratulations, Stephen. Okay, so Steve, I will reach out to you. Uh, Send me an email, Steve at rick@silverandgoldsolutions.org, and I will reach out to include your phone number. I could probably just send you a text unless you want to jump on a phone call, but I want to make sure that I have your shipping address and everything, and I'll get this out in the mail on this coming Monday to you. So I really appreciate this, you being on here, and congratulations on winning the 1 gram gold bar. And like I said, for anyone who jumped on this late to register for next week, call and be eligible for the live drawing, just go to sngsolutions.org 2025 event. Just put in your name and your email address. What I will do is you will get an email back from me with the link to the live stream each week. It's the same link, so just save the link. You're not going to get inundated with junk mail and all this other stuff. You'll just get one email from me, and probably the first week I'll send you a reminder just before on Saturday morning, just so you remember to jump on the call. But as long as you save that email, you'll always have access to the live stream. Okay. So what I want to do here is um, to take action. All right. And for yourself and your family in your future, I mentioned this before. I am an independent associate of 7K Metals, and I will have a income disclosure statement below this video in the comments. I'm sorry, in the body of the video. And because I have to have that, because with 7K, there is the opportunity to earn passively while sharing the great opportunity of saving in the form of silver and gold. And if you go back on my channel here, you'll also see a short presentation that I did, which it's a wealth strategy presentation for beginners. I encourage you to watch that. It gives you more of an in-depth look at how you can save in the form of precious metals in as little as $1 or $2 at a time. Okay, in which that's the one thing that's nice about 7K. They are, okay, first off, they are available in 41 countries, so all the countries here. But they give you the opportunity to save in as little as $1 or $2 of gold and silver at a time. So you're basically building up an incremental amount of silver or gold towards either a 1 ounce gold bar, a 1 ounce gold coin, US Eagle, US Eagle, or a 1 ounce silver coin, or you have a 100 ounce silver bar that you can build up towards. So you can basically save a little bit at a time. And then also, when the markets fluctuate, like in this case here, when silver spiked to its high, if you wanted to take that percentage gain of what you had in your portfolio, you could take that silver and convert it into gold. Okay. And it's just with a click of a mouse. You don't have to pay anybody to do it. You can do it for yourself. And conversely, you could do the same thing with that. You can convert gold into silver. Like if you know silver is going to have a spike, which is what everybody's saying, and you want to take a percentage of what you saved from gold and convert it into silver, you can do that. And then as silver gains, convert it back to gold. Okay. And what's really nice about 7K is they offer you the opportunity, like say if you had a family or you had an expense that came up that was an emergency, and say you had like said you had $500 in gold or whatever, and you can't obviously have a $500 piece of gold sent to you. So what you could do, because in order to take physical delivery, you have to hit a full ounce of each metal, whether it's gold or silver. Then you can say, okay, hey, go ahead and ship that to me, and then 7K will package up and ship it out to you, and it'll be deducted from your account. But what 7K does, if you have some type of emergency, you could actually take that physical gold and silver that you have saved in your Sound Money wallet through 7K, uh, and convert it back to fiat currency, wherever you're at in whichever country you're at, and then have it sent right back into your bank account all within a day. Okay, it's something that can happen instantaneously. So it's something that's very unique, and 7K is the only company in the world that does this. That's why I highly encourage everyone to check them out. I'll put a link below the video as well as far as how you can uh, look into more information about 7K and start saving in the form of precious metals today as well. So I really enjoyed sharing this information. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at rick@silverandgoldsolutions.org and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or if you wanted to jump on a separate Zoom call or a phone call and discuss things, I can share information with you there as well. And I also do offer a in-person presentation. It would have to be here in the United States. Uh, yeah, I can do other countries Zoom calls, but for in-person presentations, I can do that here anywhere in the United States. Just I would need to we would need to line up things and get everything set up. So if you have a small business or a company that you would like me to come and give a presentation to it, I would be more than happy to do that. So you can also reach out to me at rick@silverandgoldsolutions.org for that, and I would be more than happy to give an in-person presentation for yourself and your family or your company that you work for. Because like here in Galena, Illinois, there's a lot of small businesses and they might have four, five, six employees or something, and they may not be able to offer their employees a type of savings plan or 401k or something like that. Although I know Robert Kiyosaki always says don't waste your time on 401ks, but a lot of companies still have them. Okay. And for entrepreneurs or small business owners, you don't necessarily have a 401k. So this would be another option for you to help yourself and your employees save in the form of silver and gold and also have it where you can save incrementally as well. So I really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you. And congratulations to Stephen. Again, I'll get in touch with me at rick@silverandgoldsolutions.org and I'll get in touch with you and get the gold mailed out on Monday. And then also I want to thank Michael Oliver and also Money Metals for the articles that I shared. I want to give accolades to them for the information they shared with me, so I could share it with you. And then also Andy Scheckman in the Silver Slayer YouTube channel, as well as Wise Investor. That was the YouTube channel that had the clip from Michael Oliver. So I want to thank everybody for your time. I hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend, and just kind of keep this stuff in mind in the week coming ahead with the tariffs being imposed. You're going to see that take an impact on the markets. Okay, so just something to kind of keep in mind. So I wish everybody my best, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend. And we'll see everybody next Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Take care.